In life, there's one insult that can tear down even the strongest of men, and that insult is dusty old bones full of green dust. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the green dust is, but it's definitely not good. Probably.
Dusty old bones full of green dust. Dusty old bones full of green dust.
Yep, we're talking about that episode. This episode is undoubtedly one of the most annoying episodes in the entire series, only behind one very, very frustrating Mrs. Wakefield.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the?
But that episode already has its own video, and if you're interested, it'll be linked below. This video is about the other most annoying episode, Hanksbully. You know, this kid.
Dusty old bones. Yeah.
The episode follows Hank and the new neighbor kid, Caleb. The problem is, as the title of the episode suggests, this kid actually bullies Hank. And when Hank tells the parents, well, they see nothing wrong with it. But before we jump into that, I brought a very special guest with me. I don't want to kiss his butt too much here, but he's the sole reason I made this YouTube channel. So yeah, it kind of feels like a full circle moment for me. The person I'm talking about is none other than my friend Sean from Dusk Till Sean. So stay tuned and enjoy the video. This is Hanksbully. The episode starts with Peggy talking about how they got new neighbors a few weeks ago. She says the new neighbors never leave the house, so they haven't had a chance to meet each other. Which is a little weird because the remainder of the episode, the new neighbors never seem to be in their house, so...
In 3 weeks. If we don't do it soon, we're going to be forced into giving them awkward waves and avoiding eye contact until someone dies or moves away.
Oh shoot, look, they're leaving.
I don't know if it's a normal thing where like everyone knows all their neighbors, but I've lived in the same house for almost 6 years, and all I've ever done was like give the neighbor a little head nod, and that's about it. Peggy yells out, but the neighbors continue to drive away, and then we go on to the next scene. The guys are at their typical spot in the alley, and then we learn that the neighbors' names are Lila and Jim, and that Hank is the only one of the group who hasn't met him yet. Dale's already cleaned the pest out of their attic, and Bill has, well...
You shouldn't be afraid of them. They're really nice. They let me use their bathroom, no questions asked.
Now, I could question why Bill would need to use their bathroom when he lives literally next door, but it's Bill, so yeah, it checks out. The neighbors pull up to their house, and Hank and Peggy go introduce themselves. This is where we meet Caleb.
You want the last of the cookies Bill made us?
Mine.
Caleb, that was for our guests.
Hank and Jim joke about how Caleb is quick, and they just laugh it off. And this is the part of the episode where we start the side story. Nancy finds different dead animals in the fridge and tells Dale he needs to get rid of them. Now, again, I could question why there were dead animals in Dale's fridge, but it's Dale, so yeah, it checks out. But just then, Dale sees an ad for taxidermy in the paper and comes up with an idea.
I have a lot of dead animals. I'll make a killing stuffing them after I've made a killing killing them.
Dale then takes his new taxidermy squirrels to the alley, where the guys leave in disgust. But then Peggy sees them, and she's extremely interested in making them look better, which I feel is pretty backwards here. Like, I could see Hank being interested in like taxidermy, and Peggy being disgusted by it, but the other way around kind of throws me off a little bit. Peggy and Dale go off to work on some more taxidermy stuff, and now we're back to Hank. He's in the garage working on a shelf when the devil, Caleb walks in.
Thunder!
Now listen, son, this is a workplace, not a playground, okay?
Directly after Hank offers to show Caleb how to use the saw, he goes off and spills a bunch of paint. Hank then kicks Caleb out of the garage so he can clean it up, and later, while Hank is watering his grass, Caleb comes through riding his bike in Hank's yard. And if you know Hank, this is a big no-no. There's 3 things Hank cares about more than anything else: propane, his family, and his yard. And probably in that order. And right after that, Caleb then decides that they both need nicknames.
I like nicknames. Call me C-Unit.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Caleb's nickname being C-Unit, and Hank's being...
I got it! Dusty old bones! Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mr. Hill is probably the best way to go.
Dusty old bones full of green dust. Dusty old bones full of green dust.
Green dust?
And later, when Hank is complaining to the guys about Caleb, Caleb comes riding his bike, calling Hank Dusty Old Bones. Hank then starts to question why he's being picked on and not somebody else, and I gotta say it's probably because Hank is giving Caleb the most attention. I'd bet if Hank started to ignore Caleb, Caleb would probably stop. But then again, when a kid is smacking a beer can out of your hand, that's gotta be hard to ignore.
Dale has a dead possum on his shoulder, and Caleb completely ignored it.
Got it!
What the... Caleb, get back here!
The guys tell Hank that he has himself a bully, and then Caleb starts making fun of Hank's t-shirt. I personally like Hank's shirt, but what do I know?
White shirt, white shirt. How'd you get your shirt so white, white shirt?
Now at this point, Hank, you have my permission to field goal punt this kid. It may not be legal permission, but it is permission. Alright, back to the side story. Peggy and Dale decide to sign up for a taxidermy competition. When they go to sign up though, they see last year's winner, a giant grizzly bear. And well, Peggy and Dale's little bird wouldn't stand a chance. And she was so confident too.
You, sir, are looking at first place.
Peggy then demands that Dale go find a bigger animal, and then we're back to Satan. I mean Caleb. We see yet again that he's bullying Hank. And then Hank tries that old counting trick, when they count to 3 and the kid just stops. But of course, since Caleb isn't 3 years old, that doesn't work. But clearly at this point, Hank is reaching his wit's end. He finally goes to talk to Caleb's parents and, well, nothing.
I want to talk to you about, Caleb. He's been kind of, teasing me.
Oh, teasing's just his way of showing how much he likes you.
They start to laugh, they tell Hank to ignore him, and then they walk off. And then later on, at the block party that Hank is throwing, we get another one of Caleb's antics. This time, he snatches Hank's hat to play keep away. Hank calls for Lila and Jim, and they just ignore it. Now this kid really grinds my gears, but I don't know what's worse, Caleb or his parents. Like yeah, snatching an adult's hat to play keep away is very annoying, but the parents just stand there, doing absolutely nothing. Like come on guys, this ain't right. And then Caleb throws Bill the hat and Bill gets all excited to play keep away, but that's alright, he gets a pass. Bill's just happy to be included.
What the hell are you doing, Bill?
Sorry, Hank, I just got all caught up.
And now we get the dreaded dusty old bones full of, what? Say it with me now, green dust scene.
Dusty old bones full of green dust.
Oh, look, Lila. Caleb wrote another one of his songs.
Dusty old bones full of green dust.
He is so creative.
You know what? I take it back. I do know who's worse. The parents. Later on, when Hank is cleaning up after the party, Caleb comes strolling through with his bike and starts being a nuisance once again. But this time, he crosses the line. He does the unforgivable. He digs his bike tire into Hank's lawn. So now we are at Hank's breaking point. He takes the bike from Caleb and tells him,
Now, when you learn a little respect, you'll get this back.
Now listen, I'm not saying that Hank should have took Caleb's bike. Caleb is like not 6 years old. I don't know how old Caleb is. Caleb is a kid, and Hank is an adult, right? There's the obvious. You shouldn't steal the kid's bike. But at the same time, he was doing it for the right reasons. He was trying to teach Caleb a lesson. I mean, it's not really his place to teach that, but then again, the parents weren't doing anything, so it's just, it's a confusing situation. Hey, at least he didn't hurt the kid. He just took his bike. And then Hank walks into his living room feeling all high and mighty, telling Peggy that he took care of Caleb, and how Caleb is going to have to come back and ask for his bike if he wants it, and hopefully he learns some respect. But just then, the doorbell goes off. And it's Caleb.
I want my bike back.
Well, you're gonna have to ask nicer than that, Caleb.
Oh, yeah?
Alright, so now we've learned that on top of being a huge annoying pain in the ass, Caleb is also a snitch. 2 wrongs do not make a right, Caleb. Or I guess in this case it does, considering you're getting your bike back, but you guys, you know what I'm trying to say. Hank then gets chewed out by the police for stealing this kid's bike. And while he tries to explain himself, the entire neighborhood is standing there just looking at him like he's some kind of monster. Which I guess from the outside looking in, a grown man, probably in his 40s, stealing a child's bike does look pretty bad. But come on now, these people should know better than to think that Hank would steal this kid's bike for no reason. Like the same thing happened in the Mrs. Wakefield episode when he threw that old lady out of his house and all the people were there watching when the police came. Come to think of it, these episodes are actually extremely similar. And for a second, while everyone is walking away, it almost looks like Hank starts to feel bad. That is, of course, until Caleb looks back and does this little evil smirk, and then Hank snaps right back to being pissed off. Alright, so now I'm tapping out. I'm taking a break. Sean, if you wouldn't mind, would you take over for a few?
Oh man, I thought you'd never ask. This episode is a classic, and it stuck with me since the first moment I saw it. In my opinion, they did such an amazing job of making Caleb just such a hateable antagonist. All the meanwhile, putting Hank in situations like the one we just saw that give you so much secondhand anxiety that it's not even funny. So from this point, we see Hank sitting on his couch looking broken and defeated when the doorbell rings. He goes to answer it and finds none other than Bill and dang old Boomhauer there to convince him to come outside and have a beer with them. They promise that if Caleb comes along, they'll just run away with him, but Hank makes up an excuse, saying that he's busy retacking his sofa. As they walk away, telling him that when he's ready, he knows where to find them, Hank goes to sit on his sofa.
Wet old man.
From there, we cut to Hank down at the Megalomart buying a new front door that doesn't have a mail slot when some young adults nearby catch his eye. He asks them if they'd be interested in making $5 by scaring a 10-year-old kid, and they say that they're totally down as long as he can take them to the gas station and make sure the kid's home security system is disarmed. Alarmed by that suggestion, however, Hank just kind of drives off, deciding that he's gonna have to deal with this problem a different way. After that, we cut back over to Dale and Peggy, who are sitting in Dale's van waiting for a deer.
I can't believe this. 3 deaf kids have already crossed here and not a single deer. I'm sorry, Peggy. I blew it again. I'm not worthy to work beside your genius. I'd say stuff me, but that would get us honorable mention at best.
Dale keeps apologizing and putting himself down, but surprisingly, Peggy says that it isn't his fault and that she tasked him with an impossible mission. She says that they've been looking in all of the wrong places this whole time, and as they drive off, we cut back to Hank's house where him, Bill, and Boomhauer are standing in the kitchen, drinking some beers and wishing that they were in the alley. Hank vents his frustrations with the whole Caleb situation, saying that he can't physically stop Caleb because then his parents would have him arrested. Rightfully so.
Well, someone needs to put him in his place. Too bad we're not little people. Then it would be a fair fight.
Bobby!
You want me to do what?
Hank says that he hates making Bobby get caught up in all of this, and Bobby says that he can sense how much his dad needs his help, but he's just not sure if he can do what his dad is asking of him because it goes against everything that he's been taught. With that being said though, with a big sigh and a nod, Bobby agrees to help him. And well, just like that, I've got to toss it back to you, I Was in a Box. This is the best part, and let's just be honest, no one breaks down King of the Hill like you do, my man. Thank you so much for letting me tag in for a bit though. Let's do it again soon.
Thank you for that, Sean, and you're right, they did a great job at making Caleb hateable. Like, I would say he's probably one of the, if not the most hateable characters in this entire series. Well, at least for me. At least some of the other, quote-unquote villains of the show have, likable things, or, they're somewhat likable in some way. Caleb isn't likable in any way. But getting back into it, Hank is hyping up Bobby to give Lila and Jim the Caleb treatment. And let me just say, Bobby does a really good job at this. Almost suspiciously good. That boy might not be right, but that boy can definitely bully.
A tisket, a tasket, there goes your basket!
Hey!
Cut that out, Bobby.
Keep away!
And of course, Jim and Lila are complaining to Hank about how Bobby viciously attacked Jim and spread trash all over their yard.
Well, he must really like you a lot.
He's got a funny way of showing it.
Well, if I were you, I'd just learn to ignore it, because once Bobby decides he likes you, he's never gonna stop.
How do you guys not understand what's happening yet? Hank follows up with a oh so very satisfying, I'd learn to ignore it, because once Bobby decides he likes you, he's never gonna stop. Lila goes on to say that if Hank's trying to compare Bobby to Caleb, he's way off base. She essentially says that Caleb is adventurous and expressive, but Bobby is just a troublemaker. Which, I mean, no. If you're gonna compare Caleb to this current Bobby, they are both just troublemakers. I mean, I guess there might be an argument made that calling someone names and damaging / not respecting their property is expressive, but that's like saying that Charles Manson was just being expressive. I totally get that's a wild comparison, but you know what I'm trying to say. You can downplay anything just by saying a couple fancy words, but the point is, that is not the kind of expressive you want to take pride in. Anyway, Hank follows up with this.
Well, good for him, but I wouldn't sell Bobby short. I think he's about to express himself right now. What you got in the squirt gun, son?
That's for me to know and Jim and Lila to find out.
Hank then asks if they want to find out, or if they want to tell Caleb to stop riding his bike on his lawn. Jim does ask Caleb to stop, but Caleb just ignores it and then starts the Dusty Old Bones chant.
Dusty old bones full of green dust. Dusty old bones full of green dust.
I mean it, son. Get off the grass.
And just like that, finally Caleb's reign of terror comes to an end. And all it took was Bobby threatening to spray them with his mystery brown fluid.
So once again, the day is saved, thanks to the
Bobby Hill. But the episode does not end there. Let's see how Peggy and Dale's taxidermy competition is going. Squirrels. Squirrels at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And, squirrel tactics? Is that you? Oh, but wait, there's even more.
You're gonna love this. Watch what happens when Ben Franklin's kite gets hit by lightning. For that, I sincerely apologize. And that, too.
And that was Hanksbully. Kind of weird to end the episode on the B story, especially when, in my opinion, the B story wasn't even that good. But hey, the episode was decent nonetheless. Definitely one of those skip episodes for me, but still better than Miss Wakefield, I think. At least Caleb kinda gets what he deserves at the end. I mean, kinda. At least we don't see Caleb again, so I assume he leaves Hank alone. Well, I mean, fun fact, we do actually see Caleb again, and we see his parents again too, but they're in like the background of a couple more episodes. But I don't think any of them have speaking roles for like the remainder of the series. Like we see them right here on the season 13 episode, Born Again on the 4th of July. So that's pretty cool. I love when TV shows throw those little Easter eggs in there where like, if you're not a big fan of the show, you may not notice it, but the fans of the show are gonna notice like, oh, that's that character from, 10 seasons ago. Especially when King of the Hill did the Luann's wedding. Like, if I remember correctly, like half the people at the wedding were people from old episodes. My favorite being the social worker from like the very first episode. I don't know why he was at the wedding, but it was super cool that he was. But besides saying this episode wasn't my cup of tea, I don't have much more to say. Like, I didn't like this episode, but I also acknowledge that I don't think I was supposed to like it. This is one of those episodes you watch one time and you're like, oh, that episode, that was annoying. And then you skip it the next time it's on. And I think most TV shows have that, and this is just that one. Well, this one in the Miss Wakefield episode, but yeah, we don't talk about Miss Wakefield. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about it. It was an episode. But before I end the video, I gotta do another quick shout out to Sean. Thank you again very, very much for being a part of this video. It truly means so much to me. And if you aren't familiar with his content, I mean, I'm sure you are, but if you're not, he does video essays on a lot of old nostalgic cartoons. Some of his videos are like over 3 hours long. The man is so dedicated, and I cannot recommend his channel enough. Alright, but that's gonna do it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, you'd probably enjoy my Miss Wakefield video. I'll have that one posted. So until next time, guys, peace.
Can you believe that kid?
Keep away!
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing, Bill?
Sorry, Hank. I just got all caught up.